Hey guys, it's Vonklous Gaming here with another episode of Railroads Online. Alright guys, so if you remember in the last video, basically we were starting to lay our route going from the Smelter, which is somewhere down there in that conglomeration of trees. And we were coming up here to the Ironworks. So we laid a basic route down with some track, just kind of dropping it to give us an idea of where the track was going to run. And when we went ahead and jumped off, we were down here, headed back over here. We had just cleared some of the area so that you would be able to see the waterfall. And now basically we have a route. We just need to go back over here and start laying the groundwork. And then, of course, we'll have to connect up our track. So, let's get started. Of course, then I need to bring my locomotive over and we need to test all this out. We want to make sure everything is working good. So, this is going to be kind of a tight turn, I believe. Okay, so guys, what I like to do, and maybe it's the same for everybody, I don't really know. I like to grab my groundwork. You'll notice that it drops down, so that means you're even with the ground. I like to click right about here so it'll already adjust itself to the height that I need it. I want to try to make this as shallow as a turn, shallow of a turn as I can. This is a 3%. Alright, let's see what we look like back here. Oh yeah. That's not bad at all. That's a pretty shallow turn. Alright, so right here we seem to go up. So I want to adjust it by discontinuing what I have. Whoops. And then coming back in, because I will say this, one thing I don't really care for is 5%. If your dirt work gets too big, or too long, I should say, it starts playing where, what am I trying to say? Alright, I'll give you guys an example. It'll kind of make it easier. I don't know if I can explain it the way I need to. If you notice, when I come up or down with the dirt work right here, it goes down and up pretty decently. It's maybe just a couple of inches as far as actual physical view. But if I keep going, now it's changing to where it's like 3 or 4 inches. So the longer your groundwork gets, the more the view happens to extend itself, or the distance that when you up or lower the gradient, it makes more erratic jerks, and that kind of is annoying sometimes. Right here, it wants to go back under. Alright, so let's... Yeah, there's kind of a steep grade right here, which is kind of annoying. So I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to drop this grade down or change this grade in a way that will, like from right here on top of this hill, I need to come off with a constant grade. Alright. That'll be a little bit better for down there. Because, see, we don't want it 6. Five is good. And then we come out. But that's a little bit better, a little bit smoother coming through there. And that's kind of what we want. We don't want all that up and down. The constant change of the gradient coming through there will kind of mess things up. The locomotive will speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. Be a lot harder to maintain a straight speed going through there. And yes, it is going to be kind of a steep grade. There's really nothing you can do about it right here. You do have to come up this hill. So far, it's kind of the best route that I've seen, but the problem with it is it's pretty steep. Alright, we can start dropping this back down. We do have one pretty steep spot right there. Alright. Oh, look at all of that. Alright, so now we're kind of leveling back out some, which is good. Ooh. We want to adjust our height. You constantly got to play with the height in order to make sure you're not too far up or too far down. You don't want this obscene, like right here. You come up and then all of a sudden you're dropping pretty quick, so you end up with a big lump right here. Kind of what we want to do is delete this groundwork right here. Right there. And maybe actually go back a little bit further. I don't know. We'll look and see. So let's take it right there, and then we will come up with a constant grade from here, and then we want to come up just a little bit. See how big it jerks. At 1% grade increase is going to be huge because that's a constant grade. So we're getting on up there. We need to reduce that. We also need to demolish this before we cover it up. This one we went beside, so that one's not really impeding us much. And that one is through, no big deal. This one we're okay. Right here we have a flaw that we need to work out where we have a big increase and then a drop, and we don't want that, so we need to get rid of this right here and here. And we are going to go with a gradient right here. Get it lined up. We want it just above the ground. And let's see how that looks. Oh yeah, much cleaner. Much cleaner. Much nicer. Alright. So you see how I did that. You just kind of have to go back, look at your groundwork, see if you have any rough spots in it. If you do, delete that section and kind of iron it back out so that it looks pretty decent. And that's really all you have to do. You don't have to get absolutely ballistic with trying to put it down. Just adjust it how you need it. We're going to drop this grade down so that eventually it will even itself back out with the ground and be just a little bit above. And then we'll go back and check it. Make sure we're not getting too big increases or drops. That's kind of shallow, so it's not bad enough to worry about right there. I don't, however, like how we're coming down. We gotta kind of have a droop right here, and then we go back up a hill. So I don't really care for that. So we are going to demolish it. We don't need that rail, and I think that's it through here. So right here we kind of have a low spot. And then we come back uphill. So we want to demolish this. Because if we're going to do it, we're going to have it down close to the ground, where we're not covering our rails like that. So about where this one is perfect. We just need to connect the two and keep them pretty even with the ground. Now we're starting to disappear a little bit, so we'll come up. And then right here, we need to... we're good right there, I think. We might need to drop it down just a little bit. There we go. Well, we start meeting the other turf. Now we know we're the same height as this right here. So that'll look a lot better. We won't have that up and down wavy look to it. And I like that. Alright, so we can go ahead and delete the rail right here. And then we need to go ahead and finish heading this way. Look at this spot right here. It's not bad. Let's delete this. We don't need that anymore. Alright. And see how high above the ground we are right here? I don't want to be this high. Not right through here. We don't really need it. There's no reason for it to be that high. Just a few inches is all it needs to be. There's no reason for it being a foot off the ground right there. And what I mean is the center of the railroad track, where the railroad track's going to sit. There's no reason in that being a foot tall. So when we get to the ground where it disappears, we'll just go one click above. Bring it up, one click above. See, we're getting higher. So we just need to adjust it back down. So that way we're not too high coming through here. And if we have a spot, we may have to come back and check. Because we may have a spot that drops under the ground, like right there. Which is no big deal. That is why we check our tracks and our groundwork. And we don't just keep going and not check anything. So this way we can adjust this by just putting in a constant groundwork that will come across and connect us back up and fix that issue. I do need to... Oops. We're going to be way off right there. I don't like that. And guys, I'll show you also here in just a minute what I meant by when I said that there we go. There we go. Alright. What I said by on this groundwork, it's easier than on that stone to lay a track. You see this big rock, this big white looking rock right in the center of the screen? If you put when you're laying the track, that's right in the center. So between there to there, if you put it in the same spot, your track is going to be perfectly in the center. Running your track the whole way down through here. Because they have that little rock to focus on, kind of helps. But on that stone groundwork, and we can actually lay a piece right here so you can see what I'm talking about. On this stone groundwork, when you lay a section, you don't have that big white rock in the center. And this rock is too far over, these two rocks. So you don't really have that to focus on this like you do here. So, makes it a little bit harder to get it lined up here in the center. But if you follow the way that I told you to do it in the last video, or I explained that how I did it, I should say, it actually works out very, very well for laying it in the center. Alright, let's finish up with this. And once we get our groundwork all laid, then we can come back and drop our track down. And we're satisfied with our right there we go underground, and I wasn't paying attention. Was getting in too big a hurry. So we need to pop it right there, bring it up. Alright. Now we're starting to come off the hill right here. So where we have the groundwork right here, we need to start reducing this to meet up with that. So we'll take our variable groundwork. Ooh, that was absolutely a perfect click. We will reduce our grade by, let's go down to a 3 and see if that will meet up. May have to do a little bit more of a drop. And there we go. Alright, so that will end up meeting up with each other right there. And start our... So when we get to right here, where this groundwork changes to the stone wall, we know that from here on we're going to be on the side of a cliff. So it kind of gives us a reference point to know that, hey, from here on, baby, you're on the side of a cliff. No more spread out ground. If you derail, you're going down the side of a mountain. Alright, so let's get rid of that. Go through here. And as we're checking our track, we will go ahead and get rid of those. Once we get back to where we have no track at all, we know we're good. There's an up and down roller coaster a little bit right here, but it's not bad enough to worry about. So we're good there. I think I know right here is where I had to adjust it. And I think that was a cause of me adjusting it. So we're not going to worry about it too much right there. And this should give us a pretty shallow turn, which will be great. We do need to adjust where we have cut our path through here. Trim the trees back a little bit more so they're not in the way. To me, I like it better that way. If I don't have the trees right up against my road. Simply because if I end up with a tree in the way, it will, and I decide to cut it after the fact, when I'm coming through here, it can send the train absolutely flying off the track. And I don't want that, so I want to have it all adjusted beforehand, so I don't have to worry about it. Like this tree leaning to the right there, I don't really care for that because it's leaning towards the train. This one, these three we're going to leave, or two we're going to leave, but these two we're going to get rid of. And we're going to get rid of this one because it's leaning. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. Oh, there's one way up there. Right here, I may need to straighten this out a little bit. because we kind of go to the right and then back to the left, which is kind of weird. We don't have to be that far off center. That's gonna actually kind of put an unnecessary snake in our railroad track. So what I'll do is just kind of straighten this out a little bit. Alright, so that way that's a little bit straighter through there. So when I lay it, it won't be quite as snaky. And that's pretty much it. And I think the rest of it looks pretty good. So we can go ahead down here and just drop off and go ahead and start laying the track. As we're laying the track, I'll show you again what I was talking about with these rocks right here. Again, because this track has no deck plating underneath it, simply because the deck plating would have been in the way, I'm going to go ahead and cut this rail back just a hair, and then we'll start from there so we can kind of adjust it coming off of this bridge. So we'll start from here. Now, right here, I want to aim for this big spot in this white rock. And that's what I'm going to do each time I drop, so that when it adjusts, my track will be in the same spot going through here. Now right here, if it doesn't auto straighten it, but now see, if you look back at my track, see how pretty straight it is? It's pretty decent with a nice shallow curve. Comes right on to here. No big mess up spots. And I've actually done this enough now that I know that I don't have to keep going back and checking my track. So I actually will just keep going. And once I get to the end, I will check the track at the very end. Now, because I stopped, we do have to readjust. this is pretty much it. This is kind of the boring part, actually dropping the track, but if you kind of explain it, kind of helps a little bit for people who are new to laying the track, and people who are just starting to play the game and want a few pointers or that kind of thing. A lot of this, you know, I started out watching other YouTubers play the game, and I'll be honest with you, so far I haven't really seen anybody explain how they lay their track and how they line it up. And as much as I like watching Khan's videos and Komodo and some of those other guys, I'm not near as OCD as Khan is when it comes to laying my track. As long as it looks relatively good, I'm okay with it. I don't have to be perfect. Not 100% perfect. Won't let me drop it right there. Alright, let's get rid of that then. So we'll have to, I'm going to go back and take a look at it real quick. We do seem to be pretty much in the center. And we have pretty shallow turns for the most part, which is great. And then we go around, come back down that hill. So I'm okay with this. I know you guys can't hear that. It's raining outside. Yay! Gotta love a rainy day. Alright, this is where we kind of fixed the groundwork so that we didn't end up with a snake through here. And it kind of messed with it. So it didn't want to let me lay the track right there. And if you notice, it seems to... Oh, there we go. I was going to say, it seems to not want to give me a connection point through here. So if it does that, now you know that all you have to do is just go ahead and drop back out of your track. Wait a few seconds and then go back into it, and it'll allow you to lay it. It's just, I think the game physics is trying to catch up with everything that's being done. Now, right here is where it's going to get kind of interesting again, because we have nothing to guide us. So this is where we have to go back to using that line. Although, just so you know, this line that runs right through here on this stonework is what I'm lining it up to. But since I'm coming this way this time, if you were here for the last video, you'll know that I explained that that's how I was lining it up, but I have to do it the opposite because I'm coming from the opposite direction. So now I'm lining it up to the right versus to the left, coming the other way. But doing that means that at least when I get up here, my track is going to pretty much meet right up to each other without too much of an incident. And you can see my other track right up there. So guys, we're almost there. Now I need to back up a little bit and then come back for it to allow me to connect. I don't know why the game does it that way, but sometimes the calculating of the connection points doesn't show up right away, and you have to, and let's go up a little bit and then back till we're right at the edge, and boom. And see, because I kept it pretty much in the center, we don't have too much of a wave right there. We do have a small one, but I think it's actually because the groundwork has a little bit of a wave right there and wasn't quite met up perfectly. So anyway, that actually completes our route through here, I believe. At least through part of it. Now we do have to go back up toward the top and finish the route from the bridge up here back toward the Ironworks. But that connects. We're now connected from the smelter, which is right straight ahead of us where my orange cursor is on. All the way up to this point is now connected. So now we just need to go back up the hill here, and we need to connect from the bridge to the Ironworks, because we started right before that one bridge, which is around the curve up there. Or it's this bridge, I can't remember exactly, but it was a bridge. I do remember that much. Yeah, it looks like physics is loading in still. But it looks like our track stops right up there. So, yeah, we'll have to continue from this point on back to the opposite direction. Alright, so from here, need to click back on our rail. Line, oh, god dang it, I hit the wrong button. Alright, get my fingers set so I don't have to move my mouse hardly at all. You want to try to keep from making any real big jerky motions in your mouse. Alright, right here we'll go to the deck plating for the bridge. We need to come back some so it'll let us connect. And then we just need to come straight across. And then we need to connect up with our now you'll notice that I don't have the center line visible to me. So right there I was just kind of estimating where it was. And that's a little bit harder to do. You kind of have to look at the left and right edges and just try to place your track as close to the center as you can, with as much distance being the same on both sides. And that's a little bit harder to do. It's not quite so easy. Oh, that was a mess up spot right there. Alright. That's why I went ahead and canceled that track. So we didn't have that mess up spot in there. Alright. Don't want that. I tend to try to slow down around the curves. You can lay the track in as much hurry as you want to do it. But if you lay the track in a very big hurry, you're liable to end up with a very snaky track. The more that you do it, the longer that you lay the rail and the more consistent you get with it, the more comfortable you'll be laying it. And the quicker you'll get laying it. It's just as simple as that. You can be as fast or as slow as you want to be. Take as much time as you want to be. I tend to slow down through the turns a little bit so that I can try to get as gentle and unwavy of a turn that I can get. And since I'm going right into another turn, we'll just follow it on around. And then this is where we have a bridge meet up. So we just want to try to be as close to the center as we can. So that we end up with as shallow as a turn as possible. All of that really means a lot when it comes to laying the track. And I will say you can adjust left to right. It's not as easy as what you think, which I don't understand why it's that way. Just when you lay your very first rail, it's not going to let you adjust it left to right. So it has to be pretty much perfect from one end to the other, because it's not going to let you change it for that very first drop of rail. Once you drop that one, though, it will let you adjust the next one, the gradient on it. You would think it would be a straight shot across here automatically, but it's actually not. It still comes out looking very, very straight, though. Even though I did have to snake it left to right to keep it on the center line, it still ends up making it look pretty straight across there because of the auto adjustments. So I don't know why the bridge is that way, but it's really kind of weird, but it works. And I'll show you again when we get to this next section right here what I'm talking about. Alright, so we're pretty much around the corner and fixing to connect up to this one. This is where I'm talking about. When you lay this very first rail, you can adjust it left to right just using your mouse. So basically you just line it up as close to you can in the center. But once you lay the first one, you can no longer adjust it left to right with your mouse. Okay, so from that point, you have to use, if it gets off center, in which it will, because if you notice the rail right here, both of them are kind of over that center piece of wood on each side. But when I drop this one, you can notice as I'm traveling, this side is now in the center of the hole. Okay, so it's no longer where it needs to be. Now we're getting to where we're out of adjustment a little bit. So if you come back over, yeah, you're adjusted to where you're about back in the center again, but from there on, it's going to want to go way over. So you have to keep adjusting it in order to get it back to your center line. And that really is kind of an annoyance, but it's just part of it. You're laying multiple physics points down at the same time. They're not always going to meet up just perfect. Now we're going to drop this right here. And then we'll pick back up with our regular track. But if you look at it, it's pretty straight across there. So it's no big deal. It's a little bit of something that you have to get used to. It's a little bit of a learning curve there. Now, because I have this, our center line has been adjusted because of the way this track is laid. So we're just going to go right on the center line. This one's backwards a little bit, which is fine. I must have laid this going the opposite direction from the way I dropped the rest of them. Alright, so right here is where we come off and back onto our regular groundwork. Alright, so that's basically it for now. We now have our completed route all of the way from our iron mine so the cars will come up from the very bottom section, where if you look at the map, beams and lumber is done at the sawmill. And see, we're way over here now. So you'll have to come all the way around to the smelter, or if I do another line, I may do another line that comes up and comes around to the iron ore mine, and it may actually go all the way over to the coal mine and then back to the ore mine. I don't know exactly how I want to do it yet, but as of right now, you're going to have to go from the sawmill around, and of course I can't use my mouse pointer to kind of show you on the map, which is a little bit sucky. But if you're looking at the sawmill, my track kind of goes south, would be southeast, in between those two hills, and then back up north. So it just basically makes a U around that hill and then comes back up to the smelter. Alright? But the track changes on the hill right there, but way before you get to the smelter. So you don't have to go all the way to the smelter to go to the iron ore mine. So, but you would have to bring beams and lumber from the sawmill to the iron ore mine. Once you bring those here and drop them off, so you drop the beams here and the lumber here, then this will start producing iron. And then you would have to bring iron cars from here all the way back down to the smelter. So it's a little bit of a process, guys. It's not something that you can just, oh, I'm done. You know, no big deal. And I tell you what I want to do, because right here is going to be an we can actually park a train. I am going to delete this track. So what I'm going to do is demolish this rail right here, maybe to right there. I might have to go a little bit further. And then I want to put in a switch. I want it going to the left. Nope, correction, going to the right. Because I'm a dork. Don't know my own left and right. Alright, so I just want to kind of line up these rails. And yes, that's what I was kind of worried about. So this is off kilter, which is going to throw it way over. So let's come back a little more. And then when I lay this, I'm going to have a little bit of an off-centerness to it. Because if I don't... So we know that our center mark is right there. And in order to get it pretty much centered, we need to lay it about right there. Alright, then we can connect up these tracks together. Right here to here. So we have to go... I like to go to where the connection point's showing and then back it back up to where they're just barely touching. That way your tracks don't overlap each other. Because if you just throw the track down, you end up with the track overlapping. And like once it connects, and that will actually throw the train off the track. So now we have a switch in here. I can come off with a shunt line or a couple of shunt lines, and that way I can park my iron ore cars right here at this facility. Because that's really all they're going to be used for. So I don't see any point in having to drag them all the way back to the freight yard down there, or all the way back over to the smelter. You can either leave them at the smelter, or you can leave them up here, either one. But you have two different areas that you can put them. And that will be absolutely wonderful. But we're not done. We are going to actually connect up another one, and then we'll have two shunt lines that runs off of here, and I think that'll be plenty. So if you have another waiting locomotive, which I should never have, because it's just me by myself on my own server and nobody else, so there shouldn't be. And then you just come right down the center of the rail in order to drag each groundwork where you need it. And this will be kind of a tight turn. Oh. But we want to keep our shunt line out of the way of our regular line, because we still have this rail over here that we're going to bring along this edge of this mountain. So you're still going to have another rail running right through here. So we don't want to bring the shunt line all the way around to the edge. That being said, we need to go ahead and cut the trees so that the trees are out of the way of the shunt line. and out of the way of our rail that's going to be over here up against the edge. Alright, so that kind of cleans up that some. We need to clean this up. We just want to be able to have these trains where they're not in the way of each other, and so on and so forth. So alright, so we'll come back to where our gap is in this rail, which is somewhere right up in here, right there. And then we'll get our other shunt line. So we'll come down to, and the reason that I always look for a gap is because not always will it drop through the board in your rail line. See how the cursor is, the tip is almost at the wood, and then right here it drops down to where it's way below. That's an indication that if you have to, when you lay your groundwork for that other line, it'll actually be even with this groundwork here. You can also do it by looking for a gap here, and then that comes down and then back up. You can see your mouse climbing. So either way, we'll put it equal to the groundwork that has already been laid. And that's what we want. We want it above the ground, but not so above the ground that it throws the whole thing into a horrible looking track. Alright, so that's kind of the beginnings of our shunt line. And then we'll have this other track that will run from here along the edge of the hill. Just kind of like this. Just to give you an idea. Anyway, guys, I think for right now, that's pretty much all we're going to do. We now have our completed line from our iron mine all the way back down to the smelter. That line is completed now. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys the way that I run my track. I know when I first started building a railroad in Railroads Online, I didn't show you guys the actual work being done. I waited to show you the finished result. Some of you guys like that, and some of you guys don't. Some of you guys don't want to sit here and watch somebody boringly build a railroad. But there's a lot you guys can learn for people who haven't done this before, who are interested in the game and want to do it, but they're having trouble laying their rails. So, watching somebody explaining how to do it and how they do it may help you iron out a problem with the way that you lay your own track, and kind of give you some pointers in how to lay your track pretty decent, where it's not wavy and all over the place, and where your foundations look pretty good, and so on and so forth. I don't like this tree being right here. I don't like that one, that one, that one. That one's gotta go, that one's gotta go. This one's gotta go because I don't like it. I like to have a good path through there, very clean, organized, and so on. So now, when the train approaches here, as long as this switch is facing towards the white side, the train will just keep going straight right past here. And it can unload its beams and its wood. When the train is not being used, it can pull up past this switch. Then you just switch the switcher to the left, to the right, because I'm an idiot and I don't know my right and left. Oops, sorry guys, I didn't mean to hit that. And then that will open this shunt line so that you can park the train on the right or left track. Now currently it's going to the let's get it right, the left track, which is the white side. So that'll put the train being shunted onto this track once it's completed. And then you can park the cars and undo your locomotive, back up to your wood cars, which you need in order to bring these beams and this lumber up here. So once you're done and you're ready to haul your iron, you can park one train on one shunt line, grab the other train, come up, load up, and off you go. And then once you're back on the main line, you can throw your switch again, and that will disengage the shunt lines completely, where you're back on the main track completely. And that's pretty much it. Now, obviously, being that we have to come all the way up here, I want to be able to have some facilities where we can get water as we need it. And considering that this is a pretty good journey through here, I think we need to have a couple of towers to make sure that we have enough towers. Alright. That was actually perfect. And then I also think we need to have a sanding facility. We basically need to have everything right here. We need to have a Firewood Depot. So that you can pull up, you can refill with sand if you need it, you can refill with water if you need it, and I'm not sure how I'm going to put it in yet, but I think we need a Firewood Depot as well. The only problem is you're going to have to come all the way up here with wooden logs as well. So we're going to need another line that comes to the backside of the Firewood Depot. So that being said, if we drop a Firewood Depot right here, we want to make sure it's kind of out of the way. Plop. Alright, so when the train comes through here, you can get your firewood from right there, but we are going to have to put in a line right here because you have to drop wood off right here in order for it to create firewood. Otherwise, it won't create firewood. But that'll give us all of what we need up here. We just have to finish connecting these few items up. And I think what I can actually do, I can do a roundabout track. So we may actually not use this as a shunt line. We may use this as a roundabout track so that when you come up here, you can come right past here, over and around, and then connect right back up to this track. We'll have to adjust it. And go out. Back onto the main line. And I think that's what we may do. That way, when you come in, you can do whatever you need to do. And we may put in another shunt line off of that, but I don't see the purpose of having two shunt lines, I guess, really, when you can leave the train on the shunt line. I mean, on the roundabout line. But really, you want a way to turn the train around. Because if you have to come up here with iron and then you load it up, your engine's gonna be facing the wrong direction. So you're going to have to go back down the hill in reverse, or you're going to have a way to turn the train around in order to do it. So I think we need to put we may actually do a roundhouse up here for you just to be able to turn the locomotive around. That way, this may be the actual area where we do only a roundhouse. But anyway, that's a topic for another video. We'll figure that out between then and there. And guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and watch some more. And I hope you guys will hit that like and subscribe button. It would mean a great deal to me. And it'll help show that you guys are interested and enjoy what I'm doing. Like I said, I may not be perfect, but I will get better as time goes on. And I tell you, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, everybody.